Good afternoon, everyone. Today I am going to work on making a sourdough rye bread. This Friday, we're going out to Yankee Candle and we're going to meet up with my brother-in-law and his wife. And their favorite bread is rye. Most of the time I make it, they only get one loaf, and it's a little distance out there. So I figured today I'm going to bring out the big mixer and I'm going to make 6 loaves of bread. It is a couple day process, so I'm going to bring you along with her on the ride. And I also have a secret ingredient that goes into my rye bread. Maybe some people use it, maybe some don't, but you'll find it interesting. Hi, I'm Karen, and this is Grandma's New England Kitchen. Okay, so one of the first things I'm going to do is make the scald. And I have 600 grams of water going in a tea kettle, starting on boil. And I'm going to do 330 grams of rye berries and grind them. We'll start with the rye berries. And measure it out. And since I will not be sifting anything out of this, all the bran, all the germ is going to remain in it, I will do the full 330 grams of rye berries. 333, 330 exactly. I'm going to take it back here and grind it, and then we'll move on.
Right.
I will honestly tell you, the grinding of fresh rye smells really good. The full 330 grams of rye is going to go in. Like I said, we're not sifting anything out of this. Clean that a little bit. And the tea kettle is heating up. I'll see you as soon as that is done. Okay, everyone, so I'm back and I'm bringing out the big mixer for this. What I'm going to do now is add the liquids down in here first. I'm going to start with 277 grams of water. That will go down at the bottom. And I told you there were some secret ingredients in this. This is another 277 grams. But you notice there's a little tint to it. And what I use, pickle juice. Yes, I do put pickle juice in my rye bread. It actually adds a great flavor. It's half water, half pickle juice. So we'll put that down in there. Then the next thing that we will add into here is 32 grams of honey. I had all the other stuff weighed out, but I don't have the honey weighed out yet. Let me go ahead and put in 32 grams of honey. There we go. And I'm going to stir this together. Now, one thing I do, and some people add the salt later, and sometimes I do, but I'm actually going to add the salt now. Here's 36 grams of salt. Remember, I know it's a lot, but we are making 6 loaves of bread. That way I can dissolve it in the liquids. Okay, now the next thing, you guys have seen me grind and sift plenty of flour, and this was a lot of flour to do. This is a hard white wheat that has been ground and sifted. And there's 1,306 grams of flour that's going to go down into here. Oops. And then my other secret ingredient is 2 cups of potato flakes. They are just organic potato flakes. I get mine from Azure Standard. So 2 cups of potato flakes are going to go down into there. And then our scald that we did. The rye scald. It's warm. It's still kind of a little on the warmer side, but it's still going to sit when it does the auto leaves. So we'll go ahead and get the scald down in here. And this is the rye scald. It's 100% rye, nothing sifted out, ran germ, everything is there. Now what we're going to do is take it over to the big stand mixer and start mixing this up. Let me get the camera set up so you can see that. Here we are at the stand mixer. I'm going to go ahead and turn this on. And let this go ahead and mix all of this up. Oh, that works fine. And once this actually all comes together, I'll let it mix for a little bit, and then I will have it rest and do the auto leaves. I know right now it may look a little dry, but once I add the starter into it, it's going to change it a whole bunch. And sometimes, depending on what the weather is like, especially right here, it's cold, very low humidity, I may end up adding a little bit of water at a time. So I'll bring you back in a little bit when we go to add the starter. But just to let you know, my starter is nice and bubbly and ready to go in there, which that is a rye starter. And then I'll get to it, but after that, just before we're done, I will add in 2 tablespoons of mustard seed, 2 teaspoons and a half of caraway, and 2 teaspoons and a half of dill seeds. And those are the last things to add in. I'll bring you back when we get ready to do that. I'm going to let this go through the auto leaves now. It's done mixing on the first part. We have a stiff dough here, but I put in a lot of starter, so it's definitely going to loosen it up. As I let it set here, I do like to cover it with a little bit of a damp towel. And then the plastic wrap that I had when I covered the scald is going to go over it and cover that up. And I'm just going to let this sit for a little bit. And then we'll come back and we'll add the starter and see where we're at. I am back and I'm getting ready to add the starter in. This has been sitting for a while. I went ahead and took off the moist paper towel. Let me go ahead and get the starter and we will add that in. I have the starter in and I'm actually glad that I didn't have someone holding the camera because that was messy. What I'm going to do is go ahead and close this up and let's go ahead and mix this in. So that was 300 grams of starter that I put in there. And it's going to take a little bit for all that to come together. So I will bring you back as soon as that happens. Now, while you're doing this, definitely fight the urge to add more flour. As you can see, it is starting to pull away from the sides. I'm about 5-6 minutes into it, and it is pulling away from the side nicely. And in a little bit, I'll stop this and get it into the proofing boxes where we will do some stretch and folds. Okay, the next thing that I want to do is make sure that I add the mustard seed, the dill seed, and the caraway seeds. We got to put those down in there. I'll close this back up. Hopefully my machine does not give me any problems while I'm recording because it's been a little temperamental here. Let's get this going. Yeah, it's goody. And get those seeds mixed in, and then I'll bring you back when I put it in the proofing box. But as you can tell, it's pulled away from the sides and the bottoms beautifully now. Okay, so to get the dough out of this, it's a lot of dough for me, but one of the first things you want to do is make sure you coat the bottom. At least this is what I do, so the dough does not stick. I will coat the bottom of the proofing box. And dough is sticky, so wet your hands. I have a little bowl of water here. And I'll take the dough hook out. Yeah. That tough little booger. Get as much as the dough off of this as I can. Go ahead and set that off to the side. Wet my hands some more, and my scraper is wet. And so now it's just going to be getting it out of here. It's heavy. It's one where I probably could have waited for my husband to come and help me. It's definitely a lot easier when you're only doing 3 loaves. There we go. The last of this out of here. And there's one other thing that I do like to do before this starts poofing up. Is I'm going to bring the scale back, and my scale has this wonderful little part that it slides off like that. And I'm going to put this on top. Wet my hands. Pull the dough off, zero it out, and then put it back on. So I have 3,690 grams. So that is what I'm starting with, and then I will split that up into how many loaves I'm going to make. So for now, when I can take it off the scale. Okay, so let me go ahead and I'm going to fold the dough over and press it down. And I'll be back to do stretch and folds on this. And the dough will get looser. It's just went through a lot of mixing. So I will cover this now, and I will be back in about 30 minutes. When it's this big, sometimes I have to turn it upside down. But I'll be back in about 30 minutes to do some stretch and folds. Okay, so this has been rising for a while, and we are late at night. And you can see it has grown immensely. So now it's just, I've done a couple stretch and folds on this already. So get a couple more in here. It's very puffy. So now we'll just let it rest again. And in about 30 minutes, I'll come back and either do one more stretch and fold or start to separate it into the baskets. I'll probably do one more stretch and fold. So I'll see you in a little while. Okay, it's finally time to go ahead and separate the dough into the 5 different loaves. I know I planned on doing 6, but after weighing the dough, it came up to 3,609 grams. I like doing each loaf right around 700 grams or a little more, so that means I need to go up 5 loaves. The dough has risen beautifully. It's nice and fluffy. And we're going to go ahead and break it apart and measure it up now. So what I'm looking for is 738 grams. Let's break some off. Let's see where we're at. That's 613. Oop. 677, 707, 734. That's close enough. You want to wet your hands and then wet the board. And go ahead and flatten this out. Then you fold it over, stitch it, fold, fold and tuck, fold and tuck. Keep folding and tucking. Roll it, then take these sides and fold them in and pinch them off. Here's the other side. Fold that in and pinch it off. And now take that and you roll it around in rice flour. Then this is the side that you pinched everything off on the bottom, and the smoother side is now going to be your bottom. Then what we are going to do is put it in a bag, twist it up, tie it off. This will keep the moisture in, and now this will go in a cool spot overnight until tomorrow. This is a 3-day process. I started this yesterday with the starter and feeding the sourdough starter. I took my regular sourdough starter and turned it into a rye starter. And then today you saw everything that was going on. And then tomorrow we'll be baking this off. I have 4 more of these to do, but you'll see them all tomorrow morning. So have a good night, and I'll see you first thing in the morning. Okay, so it's actually day 4, and started this on Tuesday with the starter, and then Wednesday we mixed the dough, and it is now Friday morning, and it's ready to come out. What I do when I grind or mill the grains, I save all the bran so none of it goes to waste. And I have a parchment paper, and I sprinkle the parchment paper with the bran. And this actually puts some of the bran back into the bread too. And turn it out. And I do a wheat score. Just goes up and down the sides like this at a tiny bit of an angle. And the top of the wheat stock. And then do the functional score. And then we will go and put it in the oven. I use a cast iron baker, and I slide the bread in, keeping it on the parchment paper. And then ice around the edge for the steam. Cover it and back in the oven for 20 minutes until we uncover it. Okay, so now it's time to uncover. It's been the 20 minutes. Let's see what we got. Now with rye bread, it's a little bit denser than others, but no, it's looking good so far. So I'm gonna put it in now for another 8 to 10 minutes, let it brown, and then it will be done. Okay, so the loaf is out of the oven. Now, like I said, with the rye bread, it is more dense because you don't have as much gluten with it, but we still got a nice ear that came up, and it's a beautiful loaf. And you can see the wheat decoration. I hope you enjoyed this. Please hit like and subscribe, and also hit the notification button, and it will let you know when I post a new video. Have a good day. Okay, so the bread has cooled down, and I do want to at least cut into it so everyone can see what it looks like. With a rye bread, it is not going to be, the crumb will not be as fluffy. But let's take a look and see what it looks like. And here you go. And tonight, my husband and I are going to make some ham and cheese paninis out of this. It smells wonderful. I hope you enjoyed this. Have a good evening.